So Battlefield 6 has been out for over a month at this point, and I've dumped 300 hours into it, and I just want to give my thoughts and opinions on it. Now, I want to start this video by saying the new changes that they came out with, the XP and challenges, are good. I would like to see a further XP increase though, because for someone like me who has dumped a lot of hours in the game, it still takes me a pretty long time to level up one weapon, and for someone who only has time to play the game maybe on a Friday night or over the weekend, they're not going to level up even a single weapon in a week. Now, I'll quickly go over game performance. I think game performance is okay if you have a newer system like myself, but I do have a friend who has a 30 series and has quite a few issues with the game, especially in certain maps. But I wouldn't say this is anything new from any new game that's come out recently. Now, DICE is currently lying to us about updates. The season 1 patch never came out. I don't know why this is being glimpsed over by a lot of people, but it is. That patch had a lot of good changes that are not in the game currently. And I can't really say I've played a game recently where they simply just lied to me about patch notes not coming out when they said they were going to come out, but here we are. Now, controller, I said before, I don't think aim assist is that bad, but DICE is also lying to us about rotational aim assist. They said that there was going to be no rotational aim assist, but there is rotational aim assist in the game. I personally don't have an issue with it because it's not that strong in my opinion, but what I do have an issue with is the recoil reduction that controller players have. Currently, I think it's about a 25 to 30% reduction in recoil, which is just absurd. They did say they are going to increase controllers' recoil, so we will see if that happens. Now, assist count as kill does not actually count as a kill in this game, which has never ever been the case in any other Battlefield that I know of. A dev claimed that they didn't know if it was supposed to count, so you can already kind of see where our dev team is at right now. Now, in my personal opinion, I think the game should have been delayed to finish it because there's a lot of unfinished parts that I will get into. Another thing is netcode. The netcode in this game is terrible. It is some of the worst netcode I've played in any multiplayer game ever. The netcode being this bad makes Peeker's advantage feel terrible. Sometimes someone will simply not be on your screen and will kill you before they come around a corner, or vice versa, you will be around a corner and you will still die. I think netcode also contributes to either this weird bug or something, but sometimes someone will kill you while their player model is not actually physically looking at you, and it just feels terrible. Motherfucker not even aiming at me. Now, I made a whole video on this, but the aim in this game feels bad, and that is mainly due to the recoil and how it works. Like I said, I made an entire video. There's also a bunch of other videos, so I'm not going to get into that too much, but basically, depending on what direction the recoil pattern goes in, it will either accelerate or slow your sensitivity while aiming. Now, this has never been in any other game that I have played in, especially shooter, so I don't know why it was like this. A dev claimed that it was intended this way, but I have a feeling that they just spaghetti coded the shit out of this and are now saying that it was intended. Now, I have no evidence of that, but seeing as a lot of other things devs have claimed that have not been accurate, that's how I feel about it. Another thing with aim in general is sometimes your input will completely drop. I have no idea if this has to do with netcode or the way the recoil works, but sometimes when I am shooting at someone and trying to track them, my input will simply drop and I will no longer have control over my character. I don't know how this happens, but it needs to be fixed, among other things. Frag grenades or any sort of grenade icon are basically impossible to see. Most of the time I will die to a frag grenade that is simply off screen and there's no icon, because the icon comes from the grenade itself. It does not flash on your screen, or sometimes there will be no frag grenade icon at all. So I'm not sure what's up with that. Where's this brother dragging me? Oh, yeah. Unfortunate. Overall, it takes DICE forever to fix bugs. This is nothing new, but for a game that is this successful, like I said, I think they should be putting a little more effort into it. There are bugs that have been in since the beta that have still not been fixed. The laser bug, the drone bug, there's a weird lighting bug, among other things. I have personally been complaining about the laser bug because I want to use helis and jets, and it just makes it feel terrible to use. They did disable the aim guided missile on the LAV, but did not decide to disable it on anything else, so you can still do it in a heli or in a jet. Both of them have the aim guided rockets, and you can still go right through flares just like before. So it is clearly not fixed. They simply just slapped a terrible band-aid on it and called it a day. I wish they would do the same thing for the drone bug, because that is actually something that they could just hotfix by disabling the sledgehammer, and boom, there you go, no more drone bug. Now, something that'll be a little controversial, but this is just my personal opinion. Bot farming, it is new to the Battlefield franchise. It is not new to a lot of other franchises, and I think it's terrible for the game's health. Now, luckily, it is something that they cracked down on pretty quickly, and I won't sit here and say that I didn't use bot farming. I did. I used it for a lot of the challenges that were bugged at the time and still are. The gunfights in this game feel all right when they work. Like I said earlier, the netcode is terrible, and that only further hurts gunfights. Something I think they should change are the headshot multiplier values. I think they're a little too low in this game. Now, there are certain attachments that you can put on your weapons to, of course, further them, but overall those are too expensive and usually you can't afford to put them on, so I just don't really think the ammunition as a whole really works. Now, I'm never going to make a full tier list because I don't see a point. There are plenty of people who have already made tier lists, and I find tier lists to be kind of silly. But there is a meta in this game. I've seen a lot of people say that there isn't, and they want to claim that there isn't, but there is always going to be a meta in any shooter game. That's just how it is, unfortunately. Now, how you choose to balance that meta is up to the devs. Now, the best gun in the game currently is the SCW-10. This weapon is broken. You can actually get this weapon to 2-shot headshot under 10 meters, just like you can with the TR7, but the difference is this weapon has no recoil and the TR7 does. Now, I don't actually think the 2-shot headshot is what makes this weapon broken. It's really just the damage values. This thing has a 800 rate of fire with a 33.4 damage, I want to say, because the damage values don't actually show decimals, but a lot of the weapons in this game, especially the 33 damage ones, actually have a decimal after them. But overall, your SMGs are just super strong. They're better than carbines. They're better than assault rifles. The only other carbine that kind of competes with them is the M4. The problem with the M4 is it has an absurd amount of bloom and just some kind of weird visual recoil. LMGs in this game are laser beams. If you combine that with controller recoil, they literally have no recoil. Most of them have pretty good damage values. The M250 is really strong because it carries its damage values beyond, I think, 70 meters or something like that. It's what makes this LMG so strong. Another weapon that I do think needs a nerf is the SVK. The SVK being able to one-shot headshot is a little bit too much. I don't think I've ever seen a DMR one-shot headshot in a Battlefield, but don't quote me on that because I don't know. Now, snipers in general are super strong in this game. I've said this before. I don't really think they need to be changed, though. I don't really see how you would balance snipers in this game. All I know is they are strong, but they're not broken by any means. Shotguns are shotguns. Shotguns have always been like this in Battlefield, so I've just accepted it at this point. Now, to glance over pistols really quick, this isn't that important, but the M44 is by far the best pistol in the game. One-shot headshot with hollow point. You don't really need to know anything else. Now, to get into vehicle balance, I have covered this before, but I'll get into it again. The vehicles in this game are extremely unbalanced. All of the flyers in this game are made out of paper mache, so they die like instantly to anything, but they also do a ton of damage. Now, whether or not you think this is a great game design, I personally think that it just makes them super boring because it's basically whoever sees the other person first wins, and there really is no counterplay to that fact. I would like to see the helicopters and jets get a little more HP to where maybe they can even survive some of these rockets. I do think RPGs should still one-shot because they have in the past, but I don't really think tank shells should one-shot, even though I know that sounds crazy, but I haven't played a Battlefield where tank shells one-shotted air vehicles. I don't know if that was new in 2042, but it's not a good game design whatsoever. There should be a pretty high TTK when it comes to vehicles. The anti-air is unusable in this game. It actually needs a buff, which it's crazy I'm saying that because I absolutely despise this thing in Battlefield 4, but it does need a buff because it is currently unusable. The armored transport that just got introduced in Season 1 is kind of broken. This thing has way too much HP to where you actually need to hit this thing with more rockets than you do with an IFV, which just doesn't make any sense to me. I also haven't tested this, but its weak points seem to be like non-existent. The IFV is all right. I do think it should have the anti-projectile like the main battle tank does. I don't know why they decided to not give it that. But overall, there are a lot of missing things from the vehicles, like I've stated before. The attack heli does not have its TV missile. The jets don't have their customizable ammo or rockets, or really anything for that matter. I think that only having flares was a big flaw from the start, but here we are. The lock-on is currently disabled for the infantry fighting vehicle. I don't know when it gets added back, and the main battle tank is actually pretty okay where it is right now. I don't really see any changes needed to this, but overall, vehicles need to be looked at among, you know, other things. Defense on Breakthrough currently feels pretty much unplayable on many of the maps, and it is honestly boring. There's really no flank potential, and you're kind of just forced to sit there and wait for people to come towards you. So overall, pretty disappointing so far. I was really expecting to sink into this game and grind out all the badges, but I just don't see myself doing that. I did that with COD, and I'm not doing it again. This game, unfortunately, to me, is just going to be another one of those shooter games that passes by. And it sucks to say that about Battlefield because I really, really do have a lot of fond memories on the series. And just to finish up, this isn't entirely Battlefield related. This is really the genre as a whole, but I really do hope that a lot of these shooters and a lot of these multiplayer games start to branch off and try new things, because unfortunately we've gotten a lot of the stale old stuff for really the last decade at this point. Battle royales, battle passes, shops with, you know, skins in them, and I really hope we find some new things to add fulfillment and add content to games. But unfortunately, I don't see that happening anytime soon. The season format for games is just way too easy to do, and unfortunately, they make a lot of money off of it, so it is what it is. And look at that. A classic jet ram from my teammate. At least it's still Battlefield.